Hey everybody, Rhadamant here. Thanks for tuning in to Stationeers. So last episode, we were trying to set up a way to monitor the power tower. And, well, I have feedback from both Rafe and Nemesis, sort of instructing me the best ways to go about doing it. So let me go set that up. So Rafe mentioned, or rather told me, roughly the way I want to go about setting it up. So I'm going to get that all set up. And then Nem mentioned that, sort of calculated the amount of power that I will require, which is useful information to have. So first things first, I'm not going to need the frame in here. So I'm going to break it down, get rid of it. And all right. And then some of the other logic I/O I probably won't need either, but that's all right. All right, what do I have? I don't need the processor. I'm probably going to want this once I set up gas mixing logic, but I'll take the I/O. And then I also want memory. Where is memory? There's switches. Okay, maybe I have to make memory. So, Nem mentioned that I'm going to need roughly 50 panels in order to power the base. Sort of a rough estimate there. So, 2, 4, 6, I think. Is there a way to count here other than, me manually counting? Okay, so I have about 40 panels or so. Okay, I don't want too much memory. I only really needed one, but again, I will use some of this for when we are doing the gas mixing, so I'm going to put the rest away. And this memory is actually going to be used temporarily. So, first things first, if I want to read these stationary batteries, I kind of have to do it here because the transformer is going to block really any information that I want to get off of them. So, let's go set this up. I'm going to do a batch reader here. I'm going to wire this batch reader in. And we are going to get this batch data. So the type is going to be stationary batteries. And we want the average of the ratio. So on average, these batteries have 70% charge. Or just about, yeah, 70.1% charge. All right, that's nice. Now, I also want a logic memory. So I'm going to have a logic writer write to the stationary battery LED. So let's get a logic writer out here. So I need the data output of the logic writer to be on the right side of this here, because the transformer is going to cut the two grids, and then the input is going to be on this side. Perfect. There's the logic writer. So now I can already write, if I selected the battery LED, that's input. Output is going to be to the battery percent LED, and I can already output the percentages. But that's not what I want to do just yet, because before I do that, I need to hook some memory up, because I want to set up the way I am displaying the data. It's not just a big, long percentage number. So, first things first, I am going to set this memory to 1. And then the input here is going to be the memory, the output is the LED, and this will be mode. So 1 sets the mode to percentages, and then next is going to be color. And let me bring up the spreadsheet here. Let's say white, which is 6. All right, and we've written that. And now we're going to go back to the batch reader and then the settings. Turn that on. Now it's 57% because, you know, nighttime. So that makes sense. Fix this cable because we no longer need this memory. We can cut the memory out entirely. And I should be all set. I should be done. Oh, this also reminds me, I have a lot of smelting to do. So let me pump out the furnace room. And ideally smelt at night. So let's go appreciate our battery power tower percent monitor. It's kind of a mouthful, but I think you know what I mean. Additionally, I could set these airlocks to pressurize to like 80 or just shy of max. So let's do 95. And that way, if I don't quite have enough pressure in the base, I can still work it. And I'll set this one up as well to 95. And that way I don't get stuck and have to cancel pressurization. We just need to turn on this LED. And as you can see, our power tower is at 46%. It's kind of awkwardly bright, if you ask me, but whatever. It's legible, 45%. Yes, this LED here is obviously not all that readable anywhere but this room here. But ideally, we're going to be designing a system that doesn't drain out so often. And as you can see, I am remembering to open up the visor of my mask. Alright, let's go ahead and queue for some smelting. Unfortunately, that means volatiles and oxide. I don't have any on me. I failed to prep. I know I just flew past some oxide, but it's so close to the base I want to leave it. So I think there were volatiles over in this direction. I vaguely remember. I'm going to have to keep sort of an eye on where I'm... Whoa, that is a big old hole. Ah, well, I don't think this is the volatiles I was mentioning, but this will do. And I'm just mining up so that I can add some more power to the grid up top. So now I need the oxide. And another thing I'm going to do after making a run of this is melting the water as well. So here's my power tower. Power tower is looking a little sad, if you ask me. But we'll leave it alone. I have made that decision. Okay, so let's queue up the furnace, especially while it's nighttime. Come on, how are you not in vacuum? Well, at least it's cold. Alright, there's one. There we go. Yeah, it's definitely some sort of things are melting in the chute scenario. Alright. 1, 2, 3, 4 more. And then 2 more oxite. And that will be nice and hot. Alright, let's get a batch of steel going first. Wait, what happened to all of... Oh, we're pumping it. I'm a dummy. Alright. 3 more of that. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Combustion achieved. Okay, there's my iron. Iron and coal. How's the power tower doing? It looks miserable. All the more reason to do this project.
Jetpack on.
Let's see. What else? So I'm going to need, at the minimum, maybe, let's do 10 more on each side. Or 5 more on each side. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm out of steel. Alright. Well, while this is cooking up, make sure we get what we need. Alright. We also need a big batch of copper, because we are running a little low, especially if we're about to make a ton of solar power panels.
Jetpack on.
Alright, so I think to go a little overkill, I'm going to do 8 each side. That will be my goal. Okay, I have a lot of steel now, more than I probably need.
Jetpack on.
Let's see what I have in here. All walls and sheets. I will need glass to finish this off. So that will be another thing I'm going to have to manufacture. Alright, so that is enough for one side. Yeah, my power tower, as you can see, is just about out of power. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean the base goes empty, because of course the base has its own base batteries. So I have 4 more batteries in the power room that obviously will not go empty immediately. But the idea is that the power tower is the sort of backup bank. Alright, so I'm waiting on 4 more of those, and then I'm going to need 8 sheets, which I already have. Stick the silicon in there, and go back over to my furnace, now that I've spilled out a ton of copper.
Jetpack on.
And then we'll melt the water. And the water will allow us... Okay, that's probably enough. The water will allow us to... Is that a perfect amount? Oh, no. 1 extra. That's okay. The water will allow us to have a greater amount of water in the base, because right now our water supply is a little low. I mean, nothing that I'm concerned about. Before I go back to the furnace, let me start making the solar panels. They will take a while.
Jetpack on.
And I have plenty of materials. So, as you can see, the power tower is charging back up, which means during the day, I net positive power. It's just during the night is the concern. Alright, the furnace is very pressurized, but not enough to be a concern either. Let me put the gold away. Switch the belt here. And melt a whole bunch of water. I'm pumping some of it out. And keeping an eye on my pressure there. All right. I find it... Well, actually glass is better on the fabricator, isn't it? All right, I don't know how many I made. 5... 10, 13. I only need 3 more. And that should solve my power problems for a while. Alright, 16, I believe, is what we're adding. So let's do some glass here. And then I'm going to need a bunch of cables to support it. So glass should be near the bottom. There it is. I'm just going to make enough glass sheets for our current project. Heavy cables. We're going to need some of those. And let me set these up. I would have liked to have this project ready before it was midday, but that's okay. Oh, wrong belt. No, I can't. Oh, there we go. Meant to grab the welder, ended up grabbing the wrench. This is going to require maybe 70 more cables of each type. Expensive project. I definitely expensive project. But not having to worry about power will be pretty nice. Oh. I miscounted. I had 12 sheets, not 16. Turn that on. Let's get some steel sheets. Collect some of my heavy cables, which I'm just going to keep cranking out.
Jetpack on.
From a distance, because of rendering, it almost looks like there's water on Mars. Which is kind of cool. So you can see that kind of looks like water. Obviously, it's just render distance segmentation. Alright, here's my solar power panels. And my glass is still coming out, but I can set up some of it. Too far. Alright, that's correct. Now, I know that a giant row of solar power is not necessarily the prettiest design, but I really am not interested in, you know, it's also the easiest to lay out, which is why that's the approach I've gone. No, I'm missing a stack of solar panels. Or did I? Oh, yeah, there. I was like, did I not count them again correctly? But no, I have. So there we go. That is all of the panels and paneling. I haven't calculated how much heavy cables I will need exactly, but I'm just going to start wiring it up. So let's do the straight sections first. And then we'll have to do the data on the other side. Now, it is entirely possible to run data and power all on the same network here. And I probably, in hindsight, should have set it up that way. But at this point, I'm just going to roll with how I've got it set up. Oh, I don't need three-way corners. I meant for those to be junctions. It would have saved me more copper and more cabling in the end. That's just not how I built it. Alright, so now these are generating power. Obviously not very efficiently because they're not pointing correctly due to the lack of cables. And then if I'm going to cable it, well, let me just cable up the other side with the heavy cables. I'm not going to catch any of this daylight on this on this run. I'll catch tomorrow's daylight. Another thing I could do is I have my red spray paint. Let's start data cabling up what I've already built over here. Maybe I will catch an ounce of sunlight with these new panels. Just a teeny little bit. Every little bit counts. But yep, now it's nighttime. Alright, this might be enough heavy cables. I'll make one more. And the power tower, looking pretty good. It's actually looking fairly charged, so we'll just see how much it drains at night, and ideally we would just about power or charge up all the way during the day, and then have something like 50% left over at night, which means I'll probably need more kit batteries to add more capacity. Really? I need one more heavy cable? Oh, I was so close. And the added capacity is just for safety. You know, we don't want to be... It's like if you're doing a road trip, every time you refill your gas, you don't want to be driving on fumes. I mean, some of you might, but I think that's a dangerous way to go when, you know, the car is protecting you from a zombie apocalypse. There we go. I've put it now in perspective. Yeah, in a zombie apocalypse, you don't want to cut it close like that, right? So imagine we are in a zombie apocalypse, and that is why I don't want to be so close to empty after every night. Alright, hunger caution. There's probably enough cables to finish the project. Except for that one heavy cable that I'm lacking. Yeah, this is definitely enough regular cables. I'm also going to crank out a headlamp. It will be useful for when I'm helmetless inside the base.
Jetpack.
But I only want one. Come on. Where's my glass sheet? I'm going to make a few more.
Jetpack on.
Alright. Looks like the power tower is already down to about half power or so. I'm not even bothering putting in my junctions. I can just put corners in later. Oh, maybe I'll need more cabling. I might. No, it looks like I'll be good. And then the one I'm missing. Oh, I'm missing two? Ah! Should have counted. Alright, headlamp. Put into the backpack. Turn these bad boys off. I'm also going to want to cook soon, too. I'm a little hungry. I could go into the starter farm and crank out a little food there. Alright, so the grid is done. And we'll just see how we fare in the morning. Might want to add another kit battery or two. I can add one right there and one right there. You know what? I might as well. Adding a little bit of capacity won't be a terrible, terrible thing. So that means welding up the bottom and adding a battery in there. So let's... Oh, and the water that I wanted. Let me pay attention to that. Alright, that shouldn't be at risk of rupture. No. It'll be pressurized, but not risking rupture. And let's see, we've got 33% water, or 35% water there. That'll be good. That'll be real good. Another thing I'm going to do is let's go ahead and plant the pumpkin in our starter farm, as the starter farm is way more time-tested than the new one inside the base. Because you don't get more pumpkins. You kill your pumpkin, you lose your pumpkin. Actually, that's not entirely true. There's ways to get the pumpkin back, but I'd prefer not to kill the pumpkin. There was also one missing window up top that I know was bothering some people, so I got that done. Alright, I'll do the kit batteries in a moment. I'm just gonna grab my crops. Wading through a cycling airlock is a good time for a potato snack. It's not like there's much else I can do. There we go. And soon we'll actually have a harvest in the base, won't we? Alright, I misclicked once and killed off a soybean. So, there we go, pumpkin. And to the out. Goodbye, fine farm. So for future snacks, I'm just going to leave a baked potato in there. Or, I'll bring it with me. But I left some crops in there. Alright. Power tower is looking very, very sad. But that's just because it hasn't charged up with the new panels. Alright, battery kit. We're going to need to move the steel over. And I'm going to go for 2 more batteries. We're also going to need some heavy cable to accommodate the new battery kits.
Jetpack on.
Alright, so I'm just, mimicking what we have on floors above. Input, output. Alright, yep. And then I don't mind if it floats. Looks a little weird, but again, not that big of a deal. There we go. Well, it's about to be daybreak. Let me get these wired up. And see how our power tower fares during a full day cycle. I'm really eager to just get it so that I don't have to worry about it anymore. That is the dream. So that's wired up the bottom one. I'm gonna need more cables. Whee!
Jetpack on. Jetpack on.
It's too soon to say, but already I think we're generating a healthy amount of power, greater than what we were before. Let's see. About 200 megawatts? I mean, that's... Or 20? Sorry, not 200. 200 is like a nuclear power station. 20 megawatts, that's not bad. I'm going to print up more heavy cables than I need because they are a lengthy print process. let's get this one on. And the more capacity I add to the batteries, this, which is probably going to be obvious to all of you, the less the percentages will swing. What's going on with you, little battery? I think it's just not being prioritized for charging. That must be it. Alright, well, let's stop the heavy cables. What was the damage? Copper! I am almost out. I've got basically none left. That's great. I calculated the cost of that project accurately. What I'm gonna do to just bump up the amount of power is a little bit of coal. Also, I almost never find myself daylight mining on the recordings. It's different. I see you. So if you really wanted to set up some sort of power security where you don't have to worry about power anymore, one really good way would be to have like a shoot logic. I don't know if this is possible, but or rather to have logic that turns on and off the solid generator when you hit a threshold. So that way, if you're ever really, really low on power, you know, you can have a backup generator kick on for coal. Much the way people have backup generators for if they lose power during a storm. Just make sure that the network that you have your generator on can support the extra added power. Because let's say you're living on the moon and you have, you know, just a dinky little amount of solar on small cables. If you turn on a, you know, if you turn on a solid generator, you're gonna blow out your cables pretty quickly. All right, I'm tired of looking for coal. All the coal I've been finding, I know there's a big old node next to the base, but all the coal I've been finding has been teeny little amounts. Here we go. Singleton nodes. That's what I call them. Where they don't lead anywhere. I guess I'll just keep this coal in my backpack as backup in case the power tower has shortages. But if Nemesis is correct, I should be okay. So I'm at about, let's approximate, I'm at about 40% power right now. Let's go confirm to see if that is the case inside. And then I can talk about a next project. I kind of have to look up what you all have suggested. So Nemesis was the one that calculated sort of my megawatt hour requirement of the base under normal operation. Yep. 44%. Another thing I wanted to warn you, don't get in this chair. This chair is so close to the benches there that when you get out of the chair, you're going to slam into the benches and break your suit. I definitely did not set that up right. So I'm definitely liking these sort of air tunnels that are in the middle of the base, for sure. And if you look at my beautiful farm, they've yielded.
Light on.
So I'm going to resow some plants. Those are potatoes. These look like pretty happy plants. You know, I don't want to hear the breathing noise anymore. I probably need to move the... Oops. I didn't wait the full cycle. I probably need to move the suit that I've got in the suit storage downstairs into storage, turning off all the filters and stuff. And then when I come inside, I can just put my suit away. Who knew I had such a green thumb? Now, if you don't wait for the entire interaction period, you end up killing the plants. As I'll prove right here, I have enough potatoes to do it. Oh no, it's sort of forcing me to do it. Sometimes I fat finger it on the... Whoa! Potato, no! Oh right, I don't have my... Alright, draft, Jesus. It's like suffocating me. Maybe I'll call the base Hal. That's why the air control that I've set up definitely has its advantages. It's a lot easier than setting up custom. The disadvantage, however, is I don't have fine control over it, so you know, it might, like, if I'm standing next to draft here, it will low-key try to suffocate me. Which is, honestly, if you ask me, not all that realistic, but, yeah, whatever.
Light on. Helmet opened. Light on. Helmet opened.
There. Now I have a headlamp,
Light off. Light on.
which does not have a battery. I was wondering about that.
Helmet opened.
Alright, so 73% is what it's just about sundown. 74% is about what we're ending at. And I'm sort of curious what it will be at the end of the day. Alright, so over here, what I was referring to, suit storage, let's put the suit away. And put the helmet away. And then when I'm here, I can always, you know, I can strip my helmet off and put it into storage. Strip the suit off. I keep messing with the goggles. And the backpack. Do I have... Oh, I have a small battery on the power charger. Nice. And then I even have the ability to have lights. Because I don't have like... Well, that should be on. I don't have perfect light coverage in the base. I didn't want to like over illuminate it because it's a little hard on the eyes. So it's kind of nice to have a headlamp just in case I need it. So we ended at about 77%, and now it's dropping because it's nighttime. So we can sort of make note of how much that drops. Why is it so extra drafty up here? Now these vents aren't trying to murder me. That's good. Alright. Looking good. So, future projects that I have queued up. Let's see. We've got the need... Well, one I can work on before the end of this episode. So let me go do that. I need to go outside for this. Oh, there's my glass sheets. That'll actually be pretty useful in what I'm about to do. Alright, cycle outside.
Pressure critical.
Closing my helmet.
Temperature critical.
I need to turn the suit back on.
Closed. Oxygen low. Oxygen critical.
No, oxygen's not critical. We're fine. And as you can see, the air tank, waste tank, all of that stuff is all back to normal. Recharged, in fact, I would say. So, one of the projects that was suggested was that I set up windows down here, just in case, so that I am sort of double insulated in case of a breach or something like that. So, that is what I'll work on next, which is walls. So, I don't have enough walls for all of this. And then I'll need plastic as well. It'll look a little strange, but I fully appreciate the security that is granted by doing this. Come on. Kit walls. Alright, where's my steels over here? And then I'm going to want some glass and plastic. I'll do 15 more glass sheets. And then, if I recall correctly, I couldn't find plastic sheets here. Although the game is patched up since I last played, but I think it was minor bug fixes and not adding plastic sheets here. Let me go through, make sure that that is the case. Oh, mouse wheel. Yeah, I really didn't see it. So either I'm blind or they don't exist.
Jetpack on.
So some of this stuff will poke out of the window. But this is more for security's sake than anything else. And then, being windows are a little bit more expensive than what I normally build. But being windows, we'll actually get to see, you know, the lovely construction underbelly of the base, which is cool. Alright, it's hard to tell where I've constructed or not. Is that everything? Yeah, I might... Oh, no. There's one missing there. Alright, that should be all. Let me cancel my wall constructions.
Jetpack on.
And put them away. We have some plastic sheets already, so I'm going to use them. Now, the really important one would be this one, because it would be a lot easier to crowbar your way out of the base through that bottom window. That's actually one of the problems I have with Stationeers as a multiplayer game, is it is very easy, all through either malice or accident, to sort of sabotage a base. It is quite easy to just sort of punch one window out somewhere, and then the whole base goes kaput. It's very, very easy to do. Which means, in multiplayer, you need to either have ample backups of your base backing up constantly so that a player can't grief you or I suppose if it's an accident, you can roll with it because there is some role-playing elements to accidental depressurization and whatnot. But in, it is quite easy to grief bases, and that always concerns me. I have played multiplayer before, and it absolutely sucks when someone logs into your base, punches out some key walls, and annihilates all of the pressurization that you've attempted to achieve. You know, one crowbar can murder an entire base and all the construction that went into it. I suppose it's true if you're living on Mars. It'd be really, really easy to do that as well. So maybe it's realistic, just kind of sucks. And I tell you, just so that you're aware of the perils of multiplayer. And doubling up walls like this really won't do anything to stop multiplayer perils. So now we have a bottom window here that stretches everywhere, and that way we can't have any accidents. But I think to match the industrial feeling of the basement, I should spray paint the frames a darker color. Maybe black. We'll see how black looks. Maybe gray. I'm not sure which. Oh, no, black definitely is the correct color. And now that doesn't look so goofy. Doesn't look so out of place. Guess it never looked goofy, but out of place. Alright, one more can. So here's the deal. There is some sort of fail-safe automation that I need. The gas mixing needs a little bit of logic, and so does the emergency overflow type stuff. I am planning on showing some of the newer features, like rovers or trade, things like that, if there's demand. But you sort of have to let me know what there is demand for, because I don't necessarily know what you all want to see and whatnot. Alright, so this will be very much the... I'm spray painting this as well to match the basement decor. Yeah, it doesn't stand out. So yeah, drop me a line. I'm really, truly, not kidding, looking for input from you guys of what you want to see, or else, honestly, this series will end. If there's no demand to see other features, I'm just not going to put them in. Some things I might not do if they're too technically complex that I think they'll appeal to a very, very, very small audience. So keep that in mind as well. But now that we have a sun up, I want to end this episode with taking a look at the power tower. So we had about, let's round up to about 80% power charge.
Light off.
At the end of last night, and I want to see what my power charge is now. Alright, so 80 down to 40. That's kind of perfect, and now, as you can see, it's charging upwards. 41. So, yeah, we definitely solved our power issues, no doubt, no doubt. There's actually one more thing I wanted to do before ending this episode, which is to introduce water to the base. I know, I just keep adding little projects, but I'm going to forget to pump the furnace filter storage out. And then I'll have a rupture, you know, if I forget. Let me out, let me out.
Jetpack on.
So cool. Power tower, very happy. And in fact, I bet this charges close to full during the day-to-day. Alright, so this pump is closed. Console's off. Door's closed.
Light on.
Went up to 5.4 MPa. And what this is doing is introducing vital amounts of water that we desperately needed into the tanks. It's also introducing some pollutant too, which is not terrible. Because our plants obviously rely on water, and we didn't have a whole lot of it. So one thing you'll probably notice playing this is you end up with a whole lot of water, or you end up with a whole lot of plant capacity. You don't necessarily need to plant more plants. You only really need to plant what you need plus a little surplus. Obviously, the amount of farming that I have available to me, I could have a crazy surplus. So yeah, here you go. You can see the water going up. I was really low on water. Unfortunately, that also increased the temperature of the pollutants because I didn't let it cool down too much. But the pollutant temps should be decreasing. And then because the base is pressurized, nitrogen, oxygen, and carbon dioxide should be more or less holding. Shouldn't be changing all that much. And one last thing, I know I keep saying that, but one last thing would be to analyze the atmosphere here to make sure that I am indeed doing a sufficient job. So, put my network analyzer away. Yep, that is exactly the mix. We want 77-21-2. That was the mix that we've determined, and I'm just going to go around the base real quick and make sure that that is indeed what we have. Yeah, it's barely sunrise. As you can see, the sun's pretty low, and our power tower is already back up to 65%. Yeah, we definitely have added enough panels. And even in the farm, where you'd expect a little bit less CO2, a little bit more oxygen, because the farm is so voluminous, you know, large and has a lot of volume, the gas percentages are holding and very much the same. All right, guys, so just to recap and wrap up, thank you, Rafe and Nemesis, I should say, for your feedback about the power. Future projects, I have a bunch of little projects from Rafe and some other projects from some other people like Austin and Frenchie and etc., etc. But if you have any suggestions, things you'd like to see, let me know. Making sure that, of course, it appeals to a wide audience, and I'll catch you all later. Thank you all for watching. Adios.